Thank you for hanging in there and waiting as we let people get settled in. We're going to go ahead and get started. First, welcome to the webinar today on the Pyramid of Success, your 6-stage guide for driving new business through digital marketing. Before we jump in, just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Justin Everett. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Advice Media. Really excited to be sharing with you and working with you today. A little bit about me, my background. I'm going on about 17 years now of helping small businesses communicate with their customers and their patients in the healthcare setting. And that really spans and runs the gamut of all kinds of patient communication. That's everything, and customer communication. That's everything from acquiring new business, acquiring new customers, and the marketing side of that, to how you interact with those individuals on a day-to-day basis. Things like notifications around appointments and scheduling and all of that. And then ultimately, through the backside of that customer life cycle, ongoing retention types of communication. So most of my work and my marketing career has been working with businesses like yours along those lines. And so I'm really excited to share what I've learned with you today, and also some concepts around this pyramid of success, which we'll get into in just a moment. Before we do, just some housekeeping items. First, this will be recorded, and we'll plan to share that with you. I always like to address that right up front because that's a question we commonly get. Also, we want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions as time allows. Because there's a large group here, we're not going to open the phone lines, so to speak, but what you do have at your disposal is 2 different ways to get questions in. So hopefully you can see on the bottom of that graphic there on the screen, there's a tab for questions, and there's also a tab for chat in this GoToWebinar control panel and platform. So take your pick, whether you prefer to chat in a question or just ask it more formally through a questions tab. Doesn't matter. We can see it either way. So please do that, and as time allows, we'd be happy to address any of those questions. And if we can't get to that, please do go ahead and submit that question, because we'd love to follow up with you after the session today and make sure that we address that, and especially if it's something that is more in depth, or you may want to discuss a little deeper than what we'll have time for here. And then lastly, along the lines of asking questions and chatting comments, is we want this to be an interactive session. And so you'll see throughout here, I'll launch a couple of poll questions along the way, just to get an understanding for where you're at as a business today, in terms of some of these different marketing strategies and tactics. And also, as you exit the session today, you'll see a quick survey question at the end there as well. So let's get started. Housekeeping's over. So what we're going to be talking about is the pyramid of success. And as a longtime marketing professional myself, one of the questions that I get from people in my own network who are trying to level up their marketing efforts is, where do I start, Justin? And I can totally empathize with that question, because there are a lot of ideas and a lot of tactics that get thrown out there as being sort of a magic bullet to get you more customers or more patients. And as a member of the team here at Advice Media, we field that same question numerous times every day. And so what we've come up with to help educate around these concepts is what we refer to as the pyramid of success. And this pyramid shape is really important, because we're going to be approaching the presentation today, and just how we talk about the pyramid of success in general. We're going to be talking about layers, or stages, if you will, where each new layer is building upon the ones below it. So today, we'll be working from the ground up, starting with a strong foundation and then building from there. And we'll just do it layer by layer. And we'll dive into why that layer is worth your focus, some tips on getting it right. So hopefully you walk away with a whole bunch of tips today, and believe me, we've loaded it up. And then also some questions that you could consider asking yourself, and should be asking yourself, to self-assess where you stand today. So before we get into each of these tactics and some ideas for how to optimize and most fully leverage those, I want to start with a quick poll question. And this should be pretty interesting to see how you respond and how that matches up with the layering and staging of marketing tactics we're going to talk through during today's session. So let's see if I can launch this poll, and please just take a minute to answer and give us your response. Which of these tactics do you actively use to promote your practice today and promote your business today? So please go through there and take a moment to vote. And I'll give you some time to do that. And again, choose all of them that apply to you. And I'll share these results in a moment. Hopefully it will let me. I can tell you guys this is already a pretty interesting breakdown. All right, we'll do just a few more seconds here. Give you 5 more seconds. That'll be a solid minute. All right, I'm going to close the poll. Let's see if I can share results. Hopefully you can see that. So pretty interesting here, and these are some of these layers that we're going to be talking about. A lot of us are doing paid. Well, first of all of us who responded to the poll, which is pretty impressive, are doing some sort of, or using social media to our advantage somehow today. Also a majority around paid search advertising, so Google ads and what have you. What'll be interesting here as we go through the presentation is that's actually the very top layer of the pyramid. Some of these things that we're doing with less frequency, as a group, are actually further down in the pyramid, and in my opinion, are more foundational to what we're doing. So I think this is really interesting as we go forward here to take a look at this. All right, so let me make sure I'm sharing and you can see. Hopefully you can see the screen here. So let's dive in. Something that I want to reiterate, if it didn't come through before, is this: the order of the stages in this pyramid is very important. You can skip these stages, and people certainly do. We just saw that. Maybe even some of you, again, we saw that. But the more gaps you have here between tactics you're using, the more you're limiting the impact of those upper tactics. And when you're spending money to do these things, like we just saw with paid search and Google ads, when you're spending money on those things, we don't want to see our time or our money get wasted. So again, the order is important. So we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up here. The foundation of the pyramid is your practice website and your business website. Why focus here first? Well, the website is the nucleus for everything. Pretty much anything you do in digital marketing is going to involve your website. You can have ad campaigns that share a phone number for potential customers to call, but their primary means of taking action is going to start by checking out your website. And from there, they may decide to pick up the phone and call. Or if you're doing it right, they also have the option right there on the website to chat with a member of the team, or even fill out a form with some basic information to get a call from your team. Having multiple methods like that for someone to convert, or in other words, contact you to get more information, that's always recommended, having those multiple methods. When everything's going through the website, it's absolutely essential for that website to make a good first impression. An interesting stat here is that 94%, almost all of what we consider to be first impressions on consumers are related to the design of your website. So before even getting into the information that's on that site, or the content of that website, just the look and feel and that experience of the website alone makes a huge impact. So one thing I want to make sure we're doing here as we look at these layers of the pyramid, something that I hope will be really useful for you as takeaways from today, is offering up some tips on how to help you get the most out of each piece, each layer, each stage. So, for one thing we want to talk about now is ways to make your website work for you. First, you got to keep a visitor's perspective. Remember, your website, it's not for you, it's for your potential customers, your potential patients. So design your website specifically for them. Let's don't focus on you. Let's focus on what you can do for them and make sure they know it within the first few seconds of landing on your site. A second principle and a way to make that website work for you is keep it simple. Sally or Steve is what I do. It's actually keep it simple, stupid, but keep it simple. Sally or Steve. The Navy, they were really on to something when they came up with this design principle, and it absolutely applies to website design. Don't use too many types of fonts, too many images, too many graphics, too many font sizes. Remember, less is more here. Let's focus on keeping it simple. A third tip is to stay on brand. Organize your content and make it match your brand. From everything you write to every icon or little graphic you use, it all has to align with the message you want to convey to those, both current and potential customers. Organize your code. When it comes to website coding, organization is key. So you want to identify and implement an appropriate hierarchy. Ensure all the files that make up the website are accurate, and don't add things that unnecessarily bloat your website code. This, sort of under the hood. This makes your site slow and really difficult to manage. And then a fifth way, to make your website work for you here is what I spoke about a few moments ago, designing for conversions. So your beautiful website, this thing that's making a great first impression, it's useful if it's getting ugly results. So make sure all of your calls to action are, calls to action being defined as, things that you're asking a website visitor to do. Make sure that's all easily accessible. Another good way to design for conversions is making sure you're answering common questions you get about your services and having that on the site, and then providing multiple ways for those visitors to contact you. And that can be filling out a form on the site. That can be simply, calling or clicking a call from the mobile version of your site, or even just chatting. Convince visitors to reach out, and then make it easy for them to do that. A few more tips here. First, safety first. People will trust websites more if they're secure, especially with how much sensitive data you collect when people contact you. It's critical that you have an HTTPS certificate and make sure that's always up to date. And again, we have to blast through a lot of these today. I hope you'll ask questions, and drop notes in the chat if there are things that really poke out to you here where you want to learn a little more. Good hosting makes all the difference. Invest in a good website hosting company. This ensures your site's always up and running and that any issues are caught and addressed immediately. Again, so much of this points back to that first impression. This is huge for that. If someone's responding to the marketing that you're doing, maybe further up in the pyramid, and then they get to this foundational part of it, your website, and it's a bad experience, the site's down for whatever reason, it's hard to come back from that to win that business and win that customer. Incorporate a mobile-first design. Your website, it should function seamlessly across all devices, whether people are looking you up on their desktop at work, their tablet, their iPad at home, or their phone on the park. The website needs to be designed to look good on everything. And I shared a graphic here on the right that was just looking at somewhere around 5 trillion visits to websites in 2020. And you can see that mobile has actually overtaken desktop traffic, and it has for quite some time now, actually, as the number one way in which people are visiting websites. So you've got to make sure that's accounted for in the design of your site. 9, stay up to date. That website of yours should be updated at least every 2 years. And why is that? Well, a bunch of reasons. Trends change, design preferences among consumers change. Google algorithms change. So what works today may not work in a few years. So to maximize your website's potential, you need to keep your website and all of its content updated. And then the last point here, a tip for the website is success comes from tracking. We don't know what we don't know when it comes to the performance of our website. Continuous improvement only happens if you're tracking your progress. So set your website, set it up correctly in Google Analytics and other lead tracking softwares to make sure that you're measuring the success of your website and how that's bringing you business. So another thing we want to do as we go through the stages of this today is, and I alluded to this a few minutes ago, is kind of have some self-assessment questions, things you should be asking yourself. And so these are kind of open-ended questions I'd pose to you and have you thinking about. With the website, is it long past my time or time for my practice or my business to get a website? And I would say, if you're asking yourself that question, it probably is. Again, that's the kind of thing you should be updated at least every 2 years. Second, what first impression is my current website making on my potential patients and customers today? Be really honest about that. And if you have a hard time making that assessment yourself, ask a close friend, ask a family member, just get some really honest feedback on what impression that's making. And then last, ask yourself about that mobile first design. How does my website look on my mobile phone? I think if you kind of think through some of these tips and ask yourself some of these questions, then you're thinking along the right path for this very first foundational part of the pyramid, which is that practice and business website. So we move on to the second stage, which is local search. So what's the next thing you layer onto that foundation of a website? It's local search and making sure that your business information is accurate and up to date across the different local directories out there. So why would we focus here? Why would this be here in the pyramid? Well, local directories, they get tons of traffic. North of 150 million people access these each month. And when the information across those directories is incomplete or inconsistent across, it sends bad signals on two levels. So number one, Google. So that inconsistency makes the search engines doubt the legitimacy of your business and your website, and that's going to impact where you rank in a potential customer's search. Second is the customer themselves. So if that info that's listed there is incorrect, it's a huge hit on trust. It maybe doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's huge. So just like the website being down or not mobile friendly, this is just as important for trust and that first impression. 3 out of 4 consumers, so 73%, basically 3 out of 4, say they lose trust in brands because of something as simple as inaccuracy in those local business listings. So how do you get this right in the eyes of both the robots and the humans? Well, here are some thoughts to consider. First, evaluate where you stand today. You will lose the impact of local SEO if your website isn't up to par. So you want to evaluate that foundation, evaluate your current website to make sure the content is accurate, it's optimized for any SEO efforts, and it has all your location information. Second, Google My Business trumps all here. You need to set up or optimize your Google My Business listing. And yes, you need it if you want to appear higher in local searches. To get the most out of your listing, make sure it has the correct name, address, phone number, and then add services, business hours, photos, and posts as well. Third, get in more than one listing. So don't limit your local SEO to just your Google My Business listing. Get listed in multiple directories, local and national, Bing, Google, Yahoo, Yellow Pages, and more. Make sure they're all trustworthy and high quality so that people can trust you. The fourth here is what I spoke to before. Consistency is key. You got to keep all of your information across the directories consistent. this is known as your NAP score. And NAP, I think I had it on the last slide. NAP is name, address, and phone number. So just a quick acronym for that. At some point, your information will likely be duplicated and changed slightly at no fault of yours. So you have to monitor these listings and keep them consistent when you see a discrepancy. Fifth, use your website to showcase locations. So make sure your locations are on your website, whether you have one location or dozens. Put these on your contact page, your About Us page, or even separate landing pages for each location that utilizes keywords for that specific location. Sixth, incorporate mobile first design. So why touch on this one again? Well, one, I can't stress it enough, but two, there's definitely a tie-in with local search. So most local searches are done on people's phones when they're kind of there in the moment. So all of your information and your website needs to look good on mobile devices so they can easily contact you or find your office. And then the last idea around acing local visibility here is reviews. Getting more reviews increases your overall ranking, especially locally. So reviews from, and when I'm saying reviews, I'm talking about customers and patients going and sharing their experience and reviewing that experience. Those reviews let Google and most importantly, those potential customers know that you're a popular and well-liked business. And we'll touch on this in a minute. It's sort of a little bit of a teaser here. So again, self-assessment with local search. First, are my practice details accurate when I search myself? That's the kind of thing you can just go look up and figure out for yourself. Am I accurate here? Second, have I ever spent any time on this? Has this ever been a focus updating those local directories? And the caveat here, I would say there's no shame if you haven't. A lot of people have not done this, and we saw this in our poll question earlier. It's not been a focus for everyone. No shame, but now's the time. Let's go take a look at that and make sure we're squared away. And then the third question, about making sure we're squared away is, do I realistically have the time to do it across all of these directories? And there are some approaches and tools that can really help you manage that process. But you have to, it's got to be done. You got to be making sure you're accurate, and you got to make sure you're doing it on a regular and consistent basis. So the third part of the pyramid, online reputation. Stage 3, it's all about the online reputation. This is something that I too commonly see as people treat this sometimes as an afterthought, or this is a quote nice to have. But the truth is that in 2021, online reviews have just become so powerful in consumers' buying decisions that you can't ignore this anymore. And you can't even just sit back and let reviews come in from your customers or patients organically. We can't even afford anymore to just kind of sit back. You've got to force the issue and really put a strategy in place to go get those reviews. Why focus here? Well, we focus here because they absolutely matter. These reviews absolutely matter to your potential customers. A couple of stats here really illustrate that and help drive this point home, I hope. So first, 4 out of 5 consumers say that they not only trust reviews, but they actually rely on them when they're choosing a service provider. So they're really influential in their research process. How influential? Well, 88% of consumers are trusting those reviews, and from people they've never even met, mind you. They're trusting those reviews as much as personal recommendations from friends and family. Never underestimate the power of that published review content in influencing your potential customers' decisions. So let's tie that back to the pyramid. After reading a review, the most common next step for a consumer, and this is what you're seeing over here on the right, the most common next step for a consumer is to go visit that business's website. Remember how we said the website is the foundation of everything. Well, there it is right there. It's in the data, folks. Reviews are leading to website visits, where you'll hopefully convert them into booking an appointment or requesting more information. All right, so we can't just sit back and wait on reviews. So how do you go? You got to go get them, right? So how do you go maximize and not only get the reviews, but leverage them to their fullest capacity? First of all, you start with taking inventory, and that's evaluating your current reputation as it stands today. Look at how old your reviews are. Check out, see if you can see when the last one was posted, how many you're getting every month, compared to the number of customers and patients who come to your practice and work with you. Use that information to determine where you're starting and where you need to improve. Another tip here is give people options. Make sure you have listings on Google, Facebook, Yelp. These are the biggest platforms where people will leave reviews. And there are other popular platforms like Health Grades for doctors, Bing, Yahoo, and some others. But make sure we're giving people options. There's power in a process. Develop a solid reputation management process to save you time and money down the line. This includes defining how you'll collect reviews, who will monitor all of that process, what the response protocols are, and more. And there's power in a process here. The fourth one, and this is again about being on the aggressive or being on the offensive, so to speak, to go get reviews. Guys, just ask. The simplest way to get more reviews is to simply ask for them. People are leaving your office. Ask them if they would leave you a review and give a brief explanation of how they can leave you a review to just make it as simple as possible for them, or find a tool here that can just send them a quick request, so to speak, where it's really easy for them to click and go leave a review. Fifth is stay on top of your reviews. Monitoring, you've taken inventory, you know where you stand. Now you're starting to put a process in place here. Stay on top of it. Monitoring all of your reviews, it's the best way to stay on top of your reputation. So set up a way to make sure that you're getting notified, pretty much immediately when reviews are left for your business. And this allows you to not only see that, but also respond quickly and resolve any issues if there's something that comes through in review that needs engagement with that customer and needs to be discussed. If there are any issues to be resolved there, you want to be able to do that as soon as possible if there are any. Use negative reviews to your advantage. At some point, you'll receive a negative review, but don't stress about it. I think let's think about that as an opportunity to showcase your problem-solving abilities and turn that bad experience around. Developing a specific process for responding to these in a professional manner, that can really take a lot of the stress off of you around any negative reviews and your staff. So just think about how you would respond to those, what that process looks like, and there's an opportunity to go turn that experience around on an individual basis for that customer. You also want to use, and this maybe it seems obvious, use positive reviews to your advantage. When people rave about how great that experience is, thank them for that feedback. Don't be shy about saying thank you and that you appreciate them sharing that experience. You want repeat customers, and what better way to make them feel heard than to respond directly to them. And it doesn't have to be a negative to get a response. You respond to all the positives as well. And I think something that gets overlooked here with positive reviews is, yeah, that's a great opportunity to engage with a customer and share that appreciation. But this is a great thing to take right back to your team and right back to your staff. And if especially if a particular experience or part of that customer's experience has been highlighted, like the check-in process was super easy, or I really enjoyed working with so-and-so. That's a great opportunity to go reinforce that positive behavior with your staff or even individual staff or team members. Another tip here is to listen to your customers. When people leave negative reviews or provide additional feedback, listen to what they're saying. and learn from it. I mean, maybe I should have phrased this as learn from your customers. The way they see the way your business runs from a completely different perspective. So there's a lot of value in their feedback that you're getting from reviews that you can use. And again, this is another one of those tips to help you maximize those reviews. So actually learn from what your customers are saying, and if it's appropriate, consider making some changes, some adjustments to what your own processes look like, especially when it comes to that customer or patient experience. Another way to use positive reviews to your advantage is to show off those rave reviews. People want to see the positive experiences that other customers have had with your business. So tell them by posting those reviews to your website or to social media. Don't feel like your reviews have to sit in a bubble here. Let's leverage those as much as we can across our other marketing pieces, especially even up and down as we look at this pyramid. There's opportunities to leverage those reviews. There's no shame in bragging a little, and you have to go win in today's really competitive environment. And I think the last one here, we started with taking inventory. Well, now it's about tracking your progress. Knowledge is power. So make sure you're always in the know as to how your reputation's performing. Track the total amount of reviews over the past few months, and any changes in your overall rating. Get access to these analytics, and you can see how these things move over time, and you can use this data to make adjustments to how you're managing your reputation. You may see that, you need to be a little more aggressive in asking for reviews, or do it at a certain time, and make adjustments to your process there. But if you're not able to track it and see that progress, then you're just taking guesses, and it doesn't have to be that hard. So some questions to ask yourself around your online reputation, and there are many here, and I'm going to take a sip of water. There are many here, but here are three to start with. I think one thing to ask is, are my new patients mentioning that they found me through my many great reviews? That's one thing to ask. If they're, if you're hearing that, that's probably a good sign. Second, and this is more process oriented and tactical, is how do I know when new reviews appear about my practice? Are you having to go out there and always kind of look for those, or do you have a way to capture those in the moment and be notified when that's happening? And that's ideally what you want, right? You want to make sure that you're being notified when anything comes in, so you can address it as you need to, pretty much immediately. And then a third is more with a competitive hat on, and it's asking yourself, just go self-assess. Like, how do your reviews stack up to the different businesses that you would consider your closest competitors? How, if you're, put yourself again in that potential customer's shoes, if you're out there evaluating and you're seeing, your reviews compared to a couple of your competitors, how do you look? What choice would you make? What would the consumer, the potential customer, what are they looking at, and what are they experiencing? And think about how you can change that by just getting more focused on your reviews. Okay, so we made it halfway up the pyramid. We started with the website as the foundation, and then we layered on local search and then online reputation management through reviews. And now comes social media. And it's probably, a little late to say this in 2021, but for anyone who's on the fence and not yet convinced, I'm going to say it anyway. Social media is absolutely here to stay. Usage numbers among all age groups are very high. And somehow, and this kind of blows me away, they continue to go up. But here's the piece that matters most to you from a marketing standpoint, especially when it comes to attracting new business. More and more visits to your social media pages and profiles are happening before a visitor is your customer. The conventional wisdom in the past was that people would really only pay attention to a business's social media when they were already a customer, but that's shifted over time. And that means that right after reviews and online reputation, social media becomes increasingly important as that next pyramid layer in helping you find new customers and new patients. So let's talk about how to do that right. So 7 ways to put the social, so to speak, back in social media. Well, first, post and then post some more. Social profiles are only as good as the posts within them. So stay relevant to your followers and Google by posting consistently every week. Not only does this help your followers see that you're active on social media, but it also helps your SEO efforts. Second, engage with your followers. It's called social media for a reason, guys. Don't just post. Make sure you're responding to any comments or questions on your post to go encourage more engagement. The more engagement your posts have, the more your posts will be shown. Plus, you might just learn something valuable from what others are saying. Just like how we want to learn from reviews and the content that's shared there. There can be a lot to be learned in how your followers and your social media, people are interacting, what they're saying there. You can learn a lot from that. Third is delegate someone to handle it. And the spirit here is if you're relying on everyone to manage your social media as a group, you're relying on no one. Something's going to fall through the cracks, and no one will really kind of own it and handle it. So consider assigning someone, just to make sure you're posting that good industry-specific content and highlighting different team members and people in the office so your followers feel more connected. Delegating that and having that one consistent person there, it allows you to keep a consistent tone from your posts, and it'll ensure that it gets done and isn't just another one of those nice to haves, or we'll get to it when we get to it. Another tip here is to raise awareness. Social media, it's designed to spread information really fast. It's a great way to raise public awareness about new and emerging concerns or breakthroughs in your industry. Combat any misinformation that may be out there about a particular service or maybe a procedure that you offer. And it's also an opportunity to establish yourself as a reputable voice within the industry. Establish yourself as the expert. If you're regularly sharing valuable content that educates and then informs, then you're doing your job. You want your voice to be seen as the authority on the subject, and people will turn to you for answers. And to take that even further, answer, one way to do this within your social media ecosystem is make sure you're answering common questions every week with, maybe little videos or graphics to really place yourself as an authority in your industry. So, think about it. What are common FAQs you tend to receive when you have people within your walls in the business, or you're chatting with people or talking on the phone? What are the common questions you get, and just answer those up front and be out in front on that to help us kind of establish yourself as the expert. Another tip is remain compliant. Remember, social media is for all ages, and your content needs to be appropriate for all ages, regardless of your industry. There can be some different levels here, but what may seem acceptable and innocent to you and what's done in your industry, it doesn't mean that social media companies always see it that way. And that's not typically a concern, but it is something to mention. Get personal, I think would be the last tip. Allow people to get to know you and get to know your staff via employee highlight posts and office tours and day in the life types of content. It's about familiarity, and it's about creating personal connection. And when clients and customers come to visit you, they'll immediately already feel connected to your practice. And again, that's a huge deal in building that bond and building that connection. So as we look at our social presence, I think a few questions to self-assess and ask yourself here are, first, am I posting to my social media channels frequently enough today? Is there enough activity going on? Is it clear to Is it clear to those potential, but not only the current customers, but like we said, potential customers who are more and more going here before doing business with you? Is it clear to them that you're a thriving, active business that they'll want to work with? Second, do I get frustrated trying to come up with fresh content ideas for posts? There are tools and services to help you through this. You don't have to go this alone. So I think, if that's a concern, that's something to talk about. And, I'd love to talk more with you about that. Do you get frustrated trying to come up with fresh content and ideas here for what you're sharing? And then the third, and hopefully this is a recurring theme throughout the different pyramid stages, is, do I have visibility and do I know what is and isn't working? Because you can't make these adjustments without, understanding what's going well, what's not going well, what type of your engagement you're getting with different, categories and types of content. So 3 important questions to ask yourself there with social presence. There are others for sure, but I think you start thinking down these lines and then you're sort of getting at the crux of, what you need to adjust with your strategy. So the 5th piece of the pyramid. So we're going to go back under the hood again, so to speak, like we did on some of these technical, website tips earlier. And we're going to focus on SEO, or search engine optimization. Some might argue that this one belongs lower on the pyramid, but again, this is about building upon layers. Once you've got your local listings squared away, which are so influential on search results, and a strong review and social strategy, now you're ready to have SEO really accelerate your website traffic and start to bring you more visitors. So why focus here? 2 big reasons. The first is visibility in searches, and it's all about being on page 1 in a search. 3/4 of searchers never make it past the first page of results. The second is thinking about that placement and the resulting traffic in terms of a numbers game. So what I mean by that is, the more clicks you get to the website, the more opportunities, that foundation of the pyramid, the website, the more clicks you get there, the more opportunities that the website can get you conversions. And, that's people, asking for more information, wanting to learn more, wanting to schedule. And from there, you get more customers or patients. So if it starts to become a bit of a funnel, so to speak, as we talk about in marketing, SEO helps you accelerate that traffic and put more into the funnel at the top and really get ahead on that numbers game. So some tips, some SEO tactics to kind of take you to that next level and help you accelerate. First, you got to remember that it's a long game. Let's set appropriate expectations here by saying that it's totally a long game. You can't expect to go from page 3 to the top spot on page 1 overnight, but it can happen, and it can happen. It is a long game, but it may not be as long as you think. It doesn't happen overnight, but it can happen with good strategy. Be patient with the results, because the results will come, and there are so many success stories to point to there, and how to go move from page 3 to page 1 with a good strategy. Second is making your keywords count. Do your research. Investigate what people are searching for, and create content around topics they're interested in and that are relevant to your business. I think creating content for them and incorporating the keywords that'll get you found will have a significant impact on your rankings. This is another place where you can think about, with social, we talked about, trying to anticipate and proactively address the questions that customers tend to ask. Here you can be thinking ahead on that and try to go ahead and answer that with content. So when people do search for that question before they were to ever contact you and ask, it's likely that they'll find your answer to that question. Another one here that's more under the hood is site speed matters. Nothing's more frustrating than going to a website that takes forever to load. You know it, your visitors know it, and Google knows it. Don't own that website. Remember, it's about a positive first impression here and a good one. And a website that loads quickly, it's not only a good first impression, it also improves your SEO, and it just creates a better user experience. You want to continuously publish new content. Google, and always Google, but all the search engines, they love content. Have someone on your team or your extended team, find a partner that can continuously provide content for your website. Revamp old content, create monthly blog posts, add FAQs like we talked about. There's so many ways you can add content regularly, and this will help you improve your rankings in the long run. Never stop optimizing. A website is a constant work in progress. You might feel that it's dialed in when you first finish it, but again, this stuff moves and changes so much that it may quickly become out of date. So you've got to totally revamp that site every couple of years so it stays up to date with the latest best SEO practices. And I hope you guys are noticing some of these tips. We talked about SEO tips here, and we talked about tips within the website. You should feel and hear a lot of crossover between these, because yes, while there are distinct layers to the pyramid, a lot of these things interlink and they work together. And that's great, because this is about creating an ecosystem where SEO and reviews and social and all of these pieces work together to bring you more business and really have a good thoughtful marketing strategy. And one way, something I put on the screen here, you can go have a sort of quick and easy SEO test is go check out this link here at advicemedia.com/website checkup. That's a good place to go check that out and see where you stand. Don't ignore website design. Your website's navigation should be simple, easy to understand. This will encourage people to stay on your site longer. Google will rank your site higher if it adheres to basic quality standards and it's optimized for mobile. Maintain accurate and descriptive title tags. That title tag's a short description of your web page, and it'll appear in your browser tabs, external websites, and search engine results pages. An accurate and descriptive title tag helps your visitors know what they'll find on your website and helps Google know what searches to rank you for. Engagement is crucial for SEO. When it comes to SEO, engagement means the amount of time spent on a page. So when your website's time on page is high, that signals to Google that this is relevant content, and you'll be rewarded for that. You should be ranked higher for that. So if you're, again, this is about, above all, this is about user experience. And if it's good, engaging stuff, you'll be rewarded for that. Gain credibility through backlinks. When you're featured in articles, whether it's in your local community or regional or what have you, when you get listed in local directories, when you participate in volunteer activities that are talked about online, you can gain external links to your website. These work to give your business credibility in the eyes of Google, and you can rank higher there. And just having those links in different spots, people remember you more for that. So that's a tactic to make sure that you're really trying to attack. And then the last, I feel like a broken record with the measurement pieces, but you gotta analyze and adjust. You can't get better if you don't know where you are. Do regular SEO audits to check for things like site speed and keyword rankings and website errors and more. And then you want to use all of that data to determine what's working and what needs to be adjusted. So I'm asking yourself here, one, do I have a strategy for how common search keywords and phrases are built into my website's content? Second, how much under the hood work has already been done on my current website to make it search engine friendly? If it's all about the surface level stuff in the written word, but we haven't done much under the hood, that's something to go investigate and consider some real attention there. And again, kind of like with some of these other pieces, does your team have the time and expertise to make those adjustments? Last piece of the pyramid, the tip of it is paid search or pay-per-click advertising. Your first priority should be to be optimized from an organic standpoint. And that's a lot of what we've talked about already. That's everything from the website, both the on-screen experience and that under the hood SEO I just mentioned. That's everything from that website, as well as the layers like reviews and social media that are going to help you attract and convert web visitors. But now you put some dollars behind those elements to help you add fuel to the fire. The reason to focus here, this is all about acceleration. But the beauty of paid search is that you can measure every penny you spend. And when it's done right, there's a huge return on investment that comes with paid search. Google's stat on this is roughly 2-to-1 return, meaning for every dollar you invest here, you can expect $2 of revenue. It's pretty compelling. And I'd challenge you to stack that up against the other marketing tactics you've got going on today. Things, advertising out in the community or this billboard here or there. You can absolutely measure everything there, and we normally see a 2-to-1 return. Another plus of paid ads is that even the ones that go unclicked are still impressions, meaning that you're still getting the eyes of potential customers on your name and on your brand. And that can build and ultimately pay off down the road. So 6 strategies to maximize your PPC budget. First, know your target. With pay-per-click, you can target all the way down to the zip code. You need to know, who you're targeting, what keywords they're searching for, and the exact areas your customers are in. The more you know about your audience, the better. Second, control your budget. PPC budgets, they're easily controlled down to the penny. So always know, where your budget is for the month and turn off campaigns if they aren't working. Google, it allows you to, insert daily or monthly, time-based budgets and caps so that you're never overspending there. So simply just, stop for that period of time until the next period starts. Constant landing page optimization. So it takes less than 3 seconds for someone to decide if the page has the content they're looking for. These landing pages, which is, landing pages are where, people, the page that someone comes to after they click on an ad, those have to be continually optimized so that you can maintain your levels of traffic and improve your conversion rates, because you're having someone click, show up there, and then that page has to do its job to convert them into getting more information. Test, and test some more. Test everything. Since you're only paying for the clicks you get, you can test different keywords, landing page designs, themes, and more to see what gets you the most clicks. Just see what works and run with it. Track your progress. PPC is so easy to report upon. So there's a lot of data you can use to your advantage. You can easily track clicks, spend, lead, conversions, ROI, all of that. Again, super easy to analyze and measure, just like all these pieces of the pyramid. And last is as a reference to the earlier step, have a solid foundation. PPC, it's a great addition to your marketing efforts, but it's maximized when you have a solid digital foundation in place. All of your efforts around your website, organic, local search, and social media, they all work with paid search to get you the best results. So here's your question to ask yourself with paid search. One, are your competitors doing? Do I commonly see competitors' paid ads in the phrases that my potential patients are searching and they should be using to find me? Are those getting snapped up by my competitors, those opportunities? Second, what budget do I have available? You can absolutely kind of throttle or meter this out over time. But what do you have available to get started and apply here? And then third, how measurable are my other advertising efforts? This you can absolutely measure very easily and very accurately. These other things you're doing to promote your business and advertise, are you able to measure those? So I wanted to bring up a last poll question and launch this for us. And what I wanted to ask is, we've looked at these layers. What do you see as the weakest link in your practice marketing today? And I'd love to have you guys just kind of weigh in, and instead of choosing multiple here, you're choosing, what's the one that really stands out as my weakest link in practice marketing right now? I'll give you guys just a bit to answer. All right, just a couple of seconds here. I know we're getting close to time. All right, we'll close the poll. So just to share the results here, pretty interesting. No one said that PPC piece is their weakest link. The most common answer here was the website. And that's amazing. That's the foundation, you guys. I think that's a really interesting result. So that's the content today. Wanted to make sure, you know, we're sharing like this 6-layer approach of the pyramid of success. Hopefully you got a strong understanding of why these elements matter and why it's important to focus on them in that order, going from the bottom up. And I hope you're also walking away with some ideas for tweaks and things you can implement to go make improvements there. You know, just as a wrap up here, at Advice Media, providing guidance and, you know, advice, which is our name, on these marketing strategies, this is what we do. We love to talk about it. I know we covered a lot of ground really quickly today. So if you want to dive into any of these elements a little further, we'd love to set up a time to discuss it with you. And there's a few ways you can request that conversation. First, you can visit advicemedia.com/contact us and just simply leave your information there. You can drop a note in the questions or the chat here, and we'd love to have somebody have a deeper conversation specific to your business. I think that could be, you know, really helpful. You can email me, justin.everett@advicemedia.com, or when you exit the webinar here, you should see a survey question pop up that'll give you the opportunity to select there. So with that, we're right at time. That hour went really quickly. So I want to thank you all for attending the webinar today, for participating in the polls and the interactivity, and hope you got a lot out of it. And we'd love to have you back for the next Advice Media webinar soon. Thanks, and have a great afternoon.